Hey everyone, welcome to the 3-year anniversary Q&A. It's hard to believe that I've started this channel 3 years ago. Well, it'll be 3 years on the 10th of December. So, yeah, but I decided to do it now because I don't really want to schedule things. So I had you guys ask music related questions because that's where the majority of my subscribers came from, was from the music stuff, the reviews. And before I actually really get into the Q&A, I'd like to point out that I'm not going to be showing off you know the the comments or anything. I know I've been doing that for the past couple of Q&As, but I'm not going to do it for this one because, well, a lot of you know that I kind of held off doing this Q&A. Like, I just didn't feel like going through the process of doing that and, all that. Plus I've got Undercover to, do. That's my new series. But what I will do is whenever I do mention your guys' names, I'll give you a shout out. So the first question I think we can get into comes from Final Beta. He does guitar covers for rock bands and such, so yeah, go check him out. But this is his question: do you think Breaking Benjamin's Ember will be better than any of their previous albums? I personally think Dark Before Dawn is their worst album by far, and I'm sure Ember will surpass that. I have to say I do agree with that. I used to say that Dear Agony is my least favorite Breaking Benjamin album, but it still kind of is. I don't know, but that kind of rivals with Dark Before Dawn, to be honest. I think Dark Before Dawn is probably their worst, even though it's still not bad. Personally, I think Ember will be a better album. I've noticed that with every one word Breaking Benjamin titles, Saturate, Phobia, they just happen to be Breaking Benjamin's best albums, and it just seems like every album they had with one word seems to be their best. So that's a good sign to this album too, and they said it would be heavy. This next question comes from Connor Sylvain, who uploads, I believe he uploads whenever, I guess. I believe he has a segment called Bad Pop Songs or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's, to my knowledge, that's where he's at right now. But he asked, "What is my opinion on the band Dream Theater?" To be honest, I did check them out like a year or two ago, and I honestly wasn't too impressed. But my when I checked them out, it was at a time when I only listened to metalcore. That was like my genre, metalcore. But like at that time, Dream Theater kind of didn't do it for me. But I can check them out again, like this year or next year, since it's almost 2018, and I can feel a whole lot more different about them. So I'll have to revisit these guys and see if my opinion on the band has changed. We'll just have to see. I think there is a chance I may like them, but we'll see. That's a pretty good question. So this next question comes from Monica LW. She does album reviews and covers, stuff like that. So go check her out. And this is Monica's question here. Would you consider Red to be alternative metal? Because I see this label thrown around a lot, and I personally, anyways, thought they were just a hard rock band. I'd like to hear your take on this. Yeah, this was something that, I kind of wonder this a bit myself. Like, I think they can be considered alternative metal because they're pretty heavy for a rock band, at least as far as albums like Innocence and Instinct and Of Beauty and Rage, and even Gone, as far as those albums go, even. Although Gone's more of a, like, that's more of electronic, but mostly Innocence and Instinct and Of Beauty and Rage you can consider alternative metal records. I don't know, but like when you go to like the record store, like you can. One thing I've noticed is you find their albums in the metal section. They're not in the rock section, which I think is kind of weird. So I think all in all, they are considered alternative metal, but I consider them rock because I don't come to them enough, for heaviness, if that makes sense. Like, they're not, I don't know. It's really hard to say. I mean, you can call them either or. I think either would be fair. So that's my take on that. And the other question you have is, have you checked out much older school death metal like Death, Cannibal Corpse, etc.? Not too big on Cannibal Corpse, but Death, I recently did check them out. I think they're alright. I may have to dive into more of their stuff too. We'll have to see. Like, I know I've been into, I am into classic death metal. Like, you guys know that I'm kind of a newly fan of Carcass. I think they're a really great band. So, yeah. But that's my take on that as well. So this next question comes from Feeding the Machine Red 2605, and he does basically upload, songs and does remixes. He actually does some good remixes, some funny ones too. But this is his question. Top 5 favorite In Flames albums. Okay. I kind of had this memorized the moment I saw this comment, so here you go. My top 5 favorite In Flames albums would have to be The Jester Race, of course. Really enjoy that album. It's a classic. Colony, which is also a classic album from In Flames. Sounds of a Playground Fading. Probably the best of their new stuff. It's a really stellar one. Come Clarity, of course. This is a really great album too. It's kind of like the last album where they were really melodic death metal. And of course, my last pick would be Reroute to Remain. I've actually been really coming to this album a lot. I just really love it. I mean, In Flames is a pretty addictive band. Like, I come to them a lot. Like, when I listen to music, I come to In Flames quite a lot, mainly because there's so much variety and so much diversity in their music, and it's just, I've listened to them a lot this year. They're one of my most listened to bands of the year, along with bands like Iron Maiden and Metallica, and so I hope that did answer your question. This next question comes from Patrick Sullivan, and I really don't know what he does. He probably does like covers and stuff, so correct me if I'm wrong. But this is his question here. Have you ever considered being a musician or playing an instrument? So this question, it's kind of tough. But like when I was younger, I did try to learn guitar. I don't know, but all in all, like, I don't have any musical talents. I mean, I know a few chords, but it's nothing really, what I can say, yeah, I'm a musician. But would I consider it? I don't know. If I were, I would, be a death metal growl vocalist. I don't know. That's kind of a tough one. I don't know. But you also asked, are you a fan of modern metal or classic metal more? I think, well, technically it really does depend on the band. Like, if I had to choose between Trivium or AC/DC, I would pick Trivium. But if I had to pick, a band like Iron Maiden or Behemoth, I'd pick Iron Maiden. So it really is hard to decide. But lately, I've been really getting hooked onto the classic stuff, and I think I'm gonna go. I don't know. I don't know. I should go with both because though because they're both really great you know uh, eras of metal. I mean, if it were the 80s, I mean, I don't know what people would have done. Like, that's what I can't understand about certain people that don't like the classic stuff. But you also have to have the mindset, like, what if it still was the 80s? What would you do? Not get into music? No, you would listen to Metallica or Iron Maiden or whatever that big band was at that time. But all in all, it is hard to decide, I guess, because I listen to both maybe about the same. Yeah, that's all I can give you. I hope that did answer your question, though. So this next question comes from Ravan1207, and he has two questions, and he does music reviews, and he has two channels. He has like a Star Wars game channel. So if those sound interesting to you, go check that out. And he asked, is there a song slash band slash genre that you really like that your viewers probably wouldn't expect from you? I do. I think, I don't know. I have a pretty small taste. Well, actually, I don't. I like to think I have a wide variety, but there's a lot of people that don't. Like, oh, you don't like rap. You don't like pop. You only like metal. No. It's like I like melodic death metal, thrash metal, rock, you know. But I do like some country. Not sure how many of you expected that. I do like some indie stuff too, especially some of the stuff that you find on Space on Travel. You guys probably heard me talk about that before. But as far as country goes, I'm very iffy about country though. It has to be like older country. I can't stand new country. Like I like Johnny Cash and the two Metallica Load and Reload albums. So yeah, that's pretty much all the country that I really consume. And plus I grew up with it. It's kind of my background. And you have another question is, have you ever met any bands? I believe this question has been asked before, and the answer to that is yes. I've mentioned before that I met a smaller band called Silverline. They're kind of like Disciple. So if you're into bands like Disciple, I do recommend you check them out. I got to meet the front man and the drummer, I think. Yeah. And I also got to meet, I believe, the frontman of the Bunny the Bear in the YouTube comments one time. I really don't follow them anymore, to be honest. Their sound kind of like drained out of me or something. I don't know. And I don't know if you would count this, but Demon Hunter liked my Instagram post at one time. That's as far as I got to meeting them, but yeah. And you asked also, who do you want to meet the most? I like to meet In Flames because they're really cool. Technically, I've seen the drummer of In Flames, Joe Rickard. I saw him at Red's concert back in 2013. Yeah. So technically, I did see the drummer. I know people who have met In Flames, though. A good friend of mine met them way back in the Come Clarity days. Yeah, I'd also really like to meet Iron Maiden. Or not Iron... Oh, well, yeah, I'd like to meet Iron Maiden and Metallica. Yeah. And those are some bands I like to meet. I also like to meet Dave Mustaine of Megadeth too. That'd be something too. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. This next question comes from Tony Bivens, and he asked. Well, he asked three questions, but what he does, music reviews, and what else? Yeah, music reviews, mainly music talk. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, you may want to go check him out. So the first question he had is, what bands have you tried getting back into but just couldn't? Coldplay would be one of them. Oh, I tell you, like I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, why? Why was I ever into this band? Like, why would I be into a band that has featured on a Now Something album or something? It's it blows my mind how much I love them. Like back in the day, I consider them like my favorite band. Crazy, right? But I kind of did try to go back and listen to them anymore. Like when I listen to Coldplay anymore, I can't listen to an entire album all the way through. If I ever do go back and listen to them though, it's just mainly my favorite songs from them, like Viva La Vida, Midnight, um, what else? Speed of Sound I think is pretty good. They do have some okay stuff. I still do think they have some okay stuff. Mainly from their rock era, not their poppy era. They sold out before it was cool. um, Although Midnight is one of their newer stuff, but that was more experimental. It wasn't too bad. And another band I can't really get back into is Disciple. I know I've mentioned them before. I bought their album Scars Remain because I heard it was their best, and I figured out that it was their best. But even though it's their best, I barely even come to it. I barely even listen to it. Like their sound, like the singer's voice, I'm not too wild about. He has like this weird yell, especially in the song "Fight for Love." I think it is. The scream is like jarring and just not. It's not good in my opinion. Yeah, Disciple. I did like them a bit at one point, but I just no, no. Same could be said about like Moths to Flames. I kind of did like them before, but now that I know what I know now and how metalcore they are, it's a no-go for me. And the next question comes from Logan M. I have no idea what he does. What it seems like, game videos, Minecraft stuff. If that's up your alley, you might want to go check that out then. So we can get into the question. Have you heard of the band Wage War? If so, what do you think of them? I actually have not heard of Wage War. Well, actually, I have heard of them because I think at this point, for the years that I have been into metal, I've pretty much heard of every metal band at this point. At least it feels like. I all I know is I know of a lot of metal bands that I either like or don't like. Whether regardless if I like them or not like them, I've heard of them. I feel like it's that way with most metal bands for me. I think I have heard of them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that the band that all the members from As I Lay Dying switched over to after As I Lay Dying went on hiatus? Correct me if I'm wrong. It's probably not them, but I don't know. I swear that name just sounds like so familiar. I don't know. I don't know if it's that band or not, but And if so, what do I think of them? I'll have to check them out because I have not really listened to them. So yeah. Woven War. That's I think that's the name of the band the As I Lay Dying members are from. So yeah, it just came to my mind. But I will check out Wage War at some point because I really need to get into more music. You know, I'll probably get into them next year because every year I get into a new band every year. Like this year, I got into a lot of bands this year. I even got into some rock bands this year. Like I got into Starset, Nothing More, a little bit into Seether. I've heard about them for years, but didn't really check them out till this year. They're kind of iffy with me. Kind of like their music's just kind of like you hear one, you hear them all kind of thing. And I also got into other bands too, like Dark Tranquillity, Winter Sun, Trivium. Even though I've known about Trivium for a while too. Yeah, those are some bands that I did get into this year, but I will check out Wage War. And this next question comes from Azar White. Would you consider Red's new album Gone to be somewhat of a culmination of their previous albums? Because I myself, after listening to all the songs too many times, I'm starting to get culmination vibes. It seems like they have pulled elements from each of their previous albums and integrated them, each of those elements, into one album. What do you think about this? I kind of agree with that. I definitely hear elements from each of Red's albums in the newest album, Gone. Like, if you're into the End of Silence vibe, sound-ish kind of thing, I think you would like songs like Losing Control and, you know, Chasing Your Echo. Chasing Your Echo is very End of Silence sounding. And if you're into Innocence and Instinct, some songs you would like are Fracture, and yeah, really that's the only one that's similar to that. And if you're into like Until We Have Faces type of style, I think you would like songs like Still Alive, Coming Apart, really, Singularity, and even The Mask Slips Away is very Until We Have Faces like. So it has elements of that. And Release the Panic. Oh boy, there is some Release the Panic vibes in there, especially in the title track, Gone and Unstoppable. And if you're into Of Beauty and Rage, I think you would like songs like Step Inside the Violence and AI. Those are probably the most Of Beauty and Rage like songs on the album. Yeah, so I definitely agree that they pulled elements from each albums and all that. Very interesting question. Thanks for that. So this next question comes from John Paul Jackson, and he does some music reviews. He's does videos to, I guess, encourage people, like he's starting segments, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, if you like this kind of stuff, definitely go check him out. And his question is, have you heard of War of Ages? And if you have, what do you think of them? They have a new album out right now, or they are working on one later this month. What are your thoughts on War of Ages? I've known about War of Ages for quite some time now. I've known about them since 2015, something like that. I found a lot of bands in 2015. Like, just assume whatever band I'm a fan of, I found them in 2015 because my one friend would give me like a playlist of random, rock and metal bands on there. And I would just discover all these new bands, and Wage War was was one of those bands that were on there. And I do think they're alright, but here's the problem. They're metalcore. So of course, I'm already iffy with that idea. Now, I don't mean to sound like close-minded either, because metalcore really isn't my thing. I kind of moved on to like death metal and thrash metal and all that good stuff, but I still do like some metalcore. A lot of you know that I like Demon Hunter and August Burns Red, and kind of like Killswitch Engage. I think they're a good band too. I really should get into more of their stuff, because I'm only really familiar with their new material. But I do think War of Ages is okay. Yeah, that's my take on that. This next question we got here comes from King Kuntu. So I'm not even gonna pronounce that. And I'll give him a shout out even though he doesn't have any content. But this is his question regardless. I know metal is your favorite genre, but have you ever gave hip-hop a listen to? Artists like Kendrick Lamar? I tried, I did hear about Kendrick Lamar. I heard, even metalheads talking about him. And it kind of sparked my interest because of that. Okay, if metalheads are talking about this rapper, this guy must have something for metalheads. He must be, pretty heavy for a rapper or something. So I decided to go and check him out. And I clicked on one of his songs, and I don't even think I made it 10 seconds into the first 10 seconds of one of his songs. A lot of you know that rap is my least favorite genre of music ever. I put anything in front of it. Yes, even country. I know country is very, very frowned upon, but I really just... rap, no, it's not for me. Really, the only rap I really consume is the rap that's in Linkin Park, which really isn't much rap. So you guys know that I have a very, very, very low tolerance to rap. Now we make it to the final question, which comes from Rockin' Jonathan. And he asked, what would your life be without music? It'd be boring. But I also have to think, I lived without music, before. Back in the day, I would just listen to what everyone else listened to. Back in the day, I wasn't really big on music, which, I would like to make a rant on, I guess, people that aren't big on music in general, but I was one of those people that just didn't care about music as much. If it's not a video game, if I don't care about it, who cares about that, Because I remember when I first started this channel, somebody was like, why, you're a gamer, why are you making music content? Why don't you make more game videos? But the game videos that this person wants doesn't really, he doesn't know that I can't make, official game videos, so... Yeah, but it's terrible. It'd be terrible, a life without music. Well, that concludes the Q&A. Thanks everyone for asking a question, and it's hard to believe I'm on my third year on this channel. It'll be 3 years on the 10th of December, so keep that in mind too. That's all I got. Thanks for watching.